Hey guys, Heidi Easley here, Texas Art and Soul, and I'm going to be painting this new painting I just came up with just recently, actually this weekend. So I'm going to be painting that with you, and I'm going to be talking about 3 tips from bankruptcy to business owner. So those of you that are new to me, go ahead and say hello. If you know who I am already, please say hi. But a lot of people that have never heard my story, they don't realize that I went bankrupt over 10 years ago, and we lost everything, and then we ended up starting a business from that. So while I'm teaching you how to paint this today, I want you to, if you are struggling with any kind of financial stuff, I want you to stop putting shame on yourself, because I'm going to give you 3 tips of what you can do to, hey guys, hey Tammy, hey Michelle. Oh, thank you for saying hello as you come on. So I'm going to teach you how to paint this, but I want you to take away the shame if you have had money troubles, because I didn't talk about it for a long, long time. And so today I'm going to be very transparent and give you 3 tips for from bankruptcy to business owner, because I know a lot of y'all that watch me paint, you are doing this to make some extra money for your family, whether you're just making a few dollars or you want to make more. So first, all I did was I put some white with just a little bit of gray. Okay, so that's all I did. Hello, Brenda from Colorado. Hey, Terry Rose. Hey, guys. Thank y'all for saying hi. Okay, so do y'all want to know my first tip from bankruptcy to business owner, the lessons I've learned from losing it all? Do you want to know? And I know you probably think it's crazy that I'm smiling so much as I talk about losing everything, but I'm telling you, I think God really has a way of teaching us lessons. And sometimes there are lessons that we don't think we need at that time. But I can tell you that one of my most important lessons has been going bankrupt. I mean, it has taught us so much. So let me know if you want to know these 3 tips. And maybe you're not in a position where it is. I'm going to just use a little bit of gray. Okay. And I'm just going to kind of put this on here. Hey, Judy. Yeah, Tammy says failure makes you stronger. That is the truth. Oh my gosh. I'm just going to put a little bit of gray on here. Hey, Victoria. Okay, so I'm just kind of making this look like a palette board, but it's a canvas. Okay, it's just a canvas. Brenda says, yes, please. Okay, good. Okay, so the first tip. It is okay to work another job while you build your business. Oh my gosh. Isn't that crazy talk? Here's what I've learned is that people really sometimes, and I'm gonna let that dry for just a second, and then I'll show you how to do the vase and the flowers. But sometimes people, the other day somebody in our paint party headquarters said something about, I'm just so frustrated, this isn't working, and I'm tired of spending my husband's money, and I'm spinning my wheels, and it's not working. And it just broke my heart, because number one, you can literally, there's no shame in working a full-time job while you build your side hustle. There is no shame in that. Actually, I am very, very, very conservative when it comes to that, because we were in that position where we lost everything. For those of you that don't know, over 10 years ago, we went bankrupt, lost it all. And we started our first business out of it. It was kind of like a blessing in disguise. And from that, it gave me hope. It taught me these lessons. It taught me that there was more possibility. It taught me that there was so much purpose to my life. But at that time, I was so devastated, and I thought, there's no way that's going to happen. I remember, we had, lost it all. We started this little surfboard painting business, and I have, a surfboard here. I'll show you real quick. This is one of the bigger ones. This was actually my very, very first business, called My Soul Is Yours. And I still keep this. And it was a rough cut surfboard. And I painted this girl on here. And then we had this hand painted surfboard. Here's one I did a pixie. It's a lot better, carved and stuff like that. But, we set up for this, and again, I'm going to show you how to do the flowers, but I want to let it dry for just a second. So we'll just have a little quick story time, right? Victoria says, I do have a full-time job and I work on my business, painting business. No shame. Good, Victoria. I think it's important, the people that are out there and they're like, oh, quit your job and everything's just going to be fine when you build your business and blah, 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 blah. Like, y'all, we've got to use common sense. And so, anytime I never quit my full-time job until, I was teaching full-time and I was doing paint parties full-time. And then as my paint party business like grew and grew and grew, then I thought, okay, I can go part-time teaching. And even then I was scared to let go of it. But here's the thing that I want to tell that sweet girl in paint party headquarters is that get a side job while you're building it. There is no shame in that. And the reason I say that is because it takes the pressure off. If you have a job and you're building your side hustle while it builds and builds and builds, it takes the pressure off of your side hustle while you're trying to figure it out, because things don't just happen overnight, but while you're trying to figure out so that you can have some fun with it too. Is it hard work? Yes, it is. But nothing worth having is going to be easy. It takes sacrifice. That's a part of it. That's why most people won't do it. That's why you're going to do it and most people won't. So it takes hard work. So it's okay to have a job while you build. And when we started our surfboard business, I remember, and a lot of you, let me know if you've heard this story. I know some of y'all have and some of you haven't. And this is almost dry, y'all. Don't worry. I'll get back to painting. Don't worry. This is almost dry, and then I'm going to put some flowers on here. But when we first started our surfboard business, I was terrified. Like we set up, we worked nights and weekends, sawing out wooden surfboards so that I could paint, thinking that, this was our new start. And I was so hopeful. And I sat there and nobody was buying the surfboards. And I was like, what the heck is this? I was so frustrated. And my mother-in-law, she was in on it with us and she helped us. And she said, okay, because what do you do when you fail and you lose everything before you're 30 and you have nowhere to go and you don't have a plan B? You go to Buffalo Wild Wings and you get a drink. That's what you do. So we walked over to Buffalo Wild Wings right across the street and we were at the bar and I started, having a drink. Then I had another drink and, a little tipsy. I'm like, what is my plan B? What is my, this was my plan B. Like when you're, not even 30 yet and you've already failed this much and you have a freaking toddler to feed and you're like, how is this going to work? And then I realized, I was like, I don't know. Like life was really, really hard. And then all of a sudden my husband calls and I answer the phone and I'm like, yes. And he's like, you got to get over here. We have orders. And I'm like, you're lying. He's like, get over here. And of course I was a little tipsy, if I'm not going to lie. And I walked across the street and he had these paper tickets and he was holding them up. And I'll never forget. He's looking at me and he's like, get to painting. You got to get to painting. And I was like, at that moment, I was flat on my face, totally done for. I had been beaten. I had been, not physically beaten, but, just emotionally beaten, like done for. I've failed. I'm this loser. How could I ever move on? How could I fail this much? And it was like in that moment, seeing those tickets, it's like God scooped me up. And he not only said, it's going to be okay, but you are going to be able to do this for the rest of your life. You're going to be able to paint, which is what I loved since I was 15 years old. You're going to be able to create this and do what you want. And I just felt this new, found hope, like this new belief that it was going to be okay. And I happily painted like crazy, a little tipsy, if I'm honest. And I happily painted that night. And we went on to sell over 1,000 hand-painted surfboards in under 2 months, which meant this person who painted one painting a year ended up painting over 1,000 hand-painted surfboards in just 2 months, which meant every single time I painted a surfboard, it was financial freedom for my family. And it was insane. I mean, that summer taught me so much about perseverance, about persistence, about working another job while you kick ass at another job. Like, it's okay to do that. And I think there's too many people online telling you that, just quit your job, just do this full time. It's no big deal. It'll just happen overnight. Like, that's not real life. It's not. If you're not going to work hard for it, it's not going to happen. So I want to be honest with you and say, yes, all of these things can happen, but sometimes you got to put some sweat equity in it. And sometimes you gotta do another job while you're building it. Because I'll tell you another little tip. That fire in your belly, that feeling of wanting to do something that's yours, it never goes away. Believe me, and let me know in the comments if that's you. Like, believe me, I have tried to let it go away. I have tried to not be an entrepreneur. I have tried to not do this thing, but it's like God kept calling me to the next step and the next step and the next step. And if you're watching, you're probably one of those people too. And let me know in the comments if that's you, where you're like, yes, it just keeps, no matter what I do, it just keeps happening, And so I just want y'all to know that that's number one. It is okay to work another job while you build. Okay. So that's number one. And I'm going to show you the vase, and then I'll show you number two. Okay. All right. So here is a simple way to do a vase. And what I like to do is just find a piece of paper, which in this case, I just found, a piece from the Essential Stencil. All I did, y'all, was cut it into a shape. And then when you open it, it makes a perfect vase. So I'm just going to hover it about the place that I want it. And then let me know if you can see this. Mandy says, learn how to let God create through me by listening to you. Thanks so much. Oh, you're so welcome. Yeah, the other day I was reading, I love Success Magazine, and it was talking about sharing your story. And I thought, you know what, how many of y'all are new to me that don't even know kind of the background of how all of this started? Because I think sometimes we think, we see somebody creating online and we just think, oh yeah, that just happened and it's, done for or whatever. But really, there's always a story. And I feel like it's almost my responsibility to share that with you. My responsibility to let you know you're not alone, Okay, so here is kind of the vase. Now, what you can do is I just kind of do a very slight smiley face and then a very, very slight smiley face on the bottom, okay? And then I'm just going to kind of fill this in, and you can do any colors you want, okay? So I'm actually going to mix this up a little bit. I'm going to mix in with my primary blue. I'm going to mix in a little bit of this Ocean Breeze just to see what it does, because I'm a little risky, and I like to see what happens when I mix it. Oh yeah, I like that color. Okay, so I'm just going to fill this in, and then y'all let me know if any of this is ringing true, or you understand this, or you may be in a position like I was several years ago where I would not talk about it openly. And it's okay if you're in a position right now where you're not ready to talk about that. That's okay. Like, you can honor wherever you're at. That's totally fine. Okay, so now I'm going to take this color that I just poured out, and I'm going to put it on the top one. Okay. All right. And while I'm putting this on the top, I'm going to share two. So we're talking about 3 tips from bankruptcy to business owner, and you don't have to have gone bankrupt to get value out of this. Okay. So the first tip was, it's okay to work another job while you're building your business. Actually, I advise that. I've had people message me and say, should I just quit my job and do this full time? And I'm always the first to advise you against that, because I know the stress that can put on your family, on your relationships. Does it put stress that you're doing 2 things? Of course, but at least you have some freedom as you're doing it. So the second thing is, what you have to figure out what is driving you, because your definition of success is different than my definition of success. So, for example, my definition of success, and still is what drives me today, which y'all are going to laugh at me, but it is being able to go to the grocery store without looking at what I am putting in my basket. Like, that is freedom to me. And the other thing that's freedom to me is buying Tostito chips, which are the name brand, because I used to always go to my mother-in-law's house and she would have Tostito chips and she would have Tide. I'd have to take my laundry over there. I would wash, my clothes at her house, and I would eat her Tostito chips while she was at work. And then I would drink my stepdad's Ensures. And I just thought, this is the life. Like, if I could just buy Tide, have my own washing machine, and eat Tostito chips, like, I will have it made. Like, that's all I wanted. And still today, that is like my driving success. I want to always be able to go to the grocery store and buy whatever I want and not have to look at my account. Because for so many years, that's what I did. I had to look at my account. I had to call Bobby. I had to say, are you sure you need those Tostito rolls? Like, is that a necessity, Bobby? And then I'd have to like put stuff back. And it was just so frustrating. And so now my definition of success, and if you feel like you can share, that's great. But if your definition of success is different, if you want to put that in there, that'd be awesome if you want to share, because everybody's is different. Everybody's definition of success is totally different. Okay, so go ahead and put yours in there. All right, so I just added that on there. Nothing major. Now I'm going to show you some very, very simple flowers, and then I'll share number 3. Let's see. Charlotte says, girl, get that soap. I know. It's like so funny. Becky says, I know it's tough for so many people, right? I know it is. And that's the thing too. Like, there's people out there that, that's probably your definition of success too. Like, just being able to go to the grocery store, not worrying. And there's so many things like that. And I just want y'all to know that if you're a person that's trying to build a business, number one, it is totally okay to have a job while you're building. I advise that. And number 2, you've got to figure out what is your definition of success, because I promise you, it doesn't matter how much money comes. It doesn't matter like what happens. You need to figure out why you're doing it, because that's what's going to get you up every day. Okay, so I'm using Royal Fuchsia and Orange Twist. Yeah, because that's what's going to get you up every day. The things that you know that you want for your family. Okay, I'm going to mix these together. And then, y'all, this is where I get kind of blobby. Okay, so I'm actually going to, there's a lot of hair. Dang it. My hair is all in this. It's texture. We're just going to go with texture. Okay, there we go. Okay, so what you're going to do is just get a little bit here. Oh, and Becky says, my idea of success is having the freedom to do what we desire to do and enough money to do it. Renee says, my definition of success is having enough money and time to be there for my family. Oh, I love all of those. Oh, I'm so glad you're sharing. That's awesome. Okay, so this is kind of fun, y'all. All you're going to do is just, as you can tell, I'm not a realistic painter. So I'm just going to blob on some big old flowers here, okay? Big old flowers. Just blob them on with a mixture. I'm actually going to bring this one down here. Bring this one here. And bring this one here. Oh, and if y'all have not, how many of y'all received a text and you heard about this live from a text? If you did, and you just put yes, I heard. If you want to be able to get the text of when I'm live, if you'll put please send me the text, and we'll make sure to give you the phone number. And here's your next steps. When you get the phone number, make sure you text Texas Art and Soul to that phone number, because that way it's like an automated thing. So it'll put you in there. And then whenever I text, it'll make sure that you get it. Okay. So Liz received a text. Patty did. Okay, good. Yeah. I think that's way better than the other way I was doing it. It wasn't working as efficiently. Okay. So we got some kind of base there. We're going to let that dry for a second. let me grab some green. Okay, and you can grab any color greens. I'm just going to use kind of like a festive green, a Hauser, and a sour. Just any shades of green, really. Yeah, and if you want to text, if you're not getting text from me, make sure you put, yes, I want to text. And then we can put in there the text number. Yeah, Crystal says, I did. I love it because I get reminded. Yeah, it's really easy for me to just go, hey, I'm about to be live. And then any of y'all in Paint Party headquarters, I already took pictures for y'all that you can use. But remember, as a member of Paint Party headquarters, you can immediately start using this for your paint parties. So if you're in Paint Party headquarters, remember, you have rights to anything that I'm creating. So you can go ahead and start using it. And I took pictures today, so we'll get those posted inside of Paint Party headquarters for you. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just kind of fill this in a little bit. And if you wanted to have like a little bit, I'm going to grab some of that blue, just so it has a little bit of that same blue with it, okay? I grab a little bit of that blue so it has a little bit of that blue with it. Yeah, just put the text messages and we'll make sure to get them to you. Okay, and then the third reason, I'm just adding some green, and you'll see I'm going to start adding some little wispies and stuff and leaves. And the third thing is, let me take a drink real quick, and then I'll tell you my secret tip. And the message of the day is you are needed. Do a heart if you believe that. Okay, so the third thing is it's okay to be afraid to fail. So I talk about this all the time, okay? So like so many of us, and let me know if you're, a self-proclaimed introvert right now, on the comments here. If you're a self-proclaimed introvert, if you're really scared to put yourself out there, I want you to know that you are not alone, okay? That is totally normal to be scared to fail. It's actually, very, very normal, and it's a part of it. That's half the battle, is putting yourself out there and being scared to fail. For example, when I first started talking about my bankruptcy story, I was a high school teacher. I taught, kinder through high school. I've taught all the grades. And I was so scared, like, what are my students going to think? And I remember somebody challenged me, and they were like, what do you think your students are going to think? Do you think they're going to become drug addicts because you told them that you failed and you lost everything? And I was like, where do I get off thinking I have that much, power? Where, it was almost like an ego check. Like, where do I get off thinking that, because I share something, I have that much influence that it's going to cause them to not have a good life? Like, I was so into myself and not about how could I help others. And so I think a lot of times when you are scared and you are afraid to fail, it's more about I'm going to be embarrassed. I'm going to be scared. I'm going to be ashamed. What if this doesn't work? And what I'm telling you is that it just takes consistency. It takes going out there and failing. And I always say the people who fail the fastest are the most successful. So my new mantra is fail as fast as I can. We're doing something right now inside my company where I am failing like crazy, but I know that is going to lead me to success. So guess what? I'm going to keep failing till I get it right, because I know once I get it right, it's going to be magical, and it's going to help not only a lot of people, but it's going to help my family as well. And remember, it goes back to what is driving you. My number 2, I want to make sure I can always have Tostitos and Tide, always, and so that's what's driving me. So you have to do those 3 things. So for those of y'all that are just tuning in, I'm teaching you this painting here, and I wanted to share just 3 tips from bankruptcy to business owner. Number 1, it's okay to work another job while you build. It takes the pressure off. Totally okay to do that. Number 2, What is driving you? You need to write this down. What is driving you to make you want to do a business? Because that fire in your belly is never going to go away. And then number 3, be okay to fail. You have to be okay with that because you are going to fail. You are going to have moments of doubt. You are going to have these times where you're like, this sucks. This is hard. But remember, nothing worth having doesn't take sacrifice. Nothing worth having doesn't take you being out of your comfort zone. And you can't help anybody if you keep being stuck in what your fear is telling you to do. So I just wanted to share that with you. Patty says, today I did a live, and on many of my past ones, I've had only 1 to 2 people. Today I had a few dozen. Patty, that's consistency. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you. Yeah, I told y'all it used to just be me and my mom forever. It's just me and my mom every time. Oh my gosh, let's see. Becky says, I really do want to take the focus off me. So I guess I need to fail a bunch. I really define success in being able to help others. Yes, when we take the focus off of us, I'm just going to add some of that orange twist to it. When we start taking the focus off of us, like right now, the focus is about helping you. It takes off all the fear I have about y'all judging me for losing everything. It takes off all the fear I have about, well, crap, that I went bankrupt and couldn't even afford Tostitos. Like, it takes all that fear of losing everything away, because I know by me sharing this, it's going to help somebody else hopefully take action, which will in turn help somebody else with whatever you're trying to help them with. So if it's, doing your first Facebook Live, are there going to be 150 people watching the first time? No, that's not how it works. But if you keep showing up, Facebook's going to keep going, wait a minute. This person's really wanting to share. This person's offering value. This person's, sharing with people. They want to see her stuff. And so I want y'all to remember, you've got to take the focus off yourself. And if your purpose is driving you enough to where, you know what you want, what it's about, then when you go live, I'm just taking a little bit of that dark blue and just outlining. But when you have that purpose strong enough that you know why you're going live, for example, I know right now the reason I am live is to not only show you a fun painting, but to help you get through some of your fears, right? To help you get through some of y'all that are scared to go live, to help you get through and know that it's okay if it takes a little bit longer for your business to take off. That's normal. It's totally normal. And I know that is my purpose for being on this live. And when you know that, I'm just doing a little bit of light blue, just a little bit of a kind of a side motion. When you know your purpose so well, and it takes time. When I first started doing lives, it wasn't like just out of the gate, it just came naturally. No, it doesn't. It gets awkward. It gets a little weird. It gets strange at first. It's okay. It's totally okay. Do you allow children, those of you doing the parties? Oh, yeah. Yeah. If some of y'all may be answering that, but yes, I do kids parties too, if that's what you're asking. But yeah, so it takes getting used to it and being okay to not look perfect when you're doing this. It just takes time. Aaliyah, is that right? Heidi said, Heidi, that big brush scares me. Can we use a smaller one, or does it make a difference? Yes, you can use a smaller one. But if you are teaching this, for those of y'all in Paint Party headquarters, if you're teaching this at a paint party, you'll want to do the bigger one. And I'm using a liner and just kind of doing this. You'll want to use a bigger one because you want to get the paint on there faster, or the painting will take several hours. But you can see here, we're at 30 minutes and I'm almost done with it, just with some highlights and stuff. If you're using, like I always say, if you're teaching a paint party, if it takes you 45 minutes to paint it, it's going to take your painters about 2 to 2.5 hours. So So if you're, doing a painting or you're designing one of your own, just kind of time yourself and make sure it takes about 45 minutes or less for you to do it. And then it's going to take about 2 to 2.5 hours for them to do it. And that's just kind of a good rule of thumb that I've learned over the years of teaching a paint party, because you don't want to do, I'm going to mix a little bit of blue with this. You don't want to make it too long. I've made that mistake. And if you make it too long, it's going to be hard for you to get repeat customers, because then they start to think of you as like, oh, that was so fun, but man, it took forever. And then they start to go, maybe we can't do that, right? Let's see. Gail says, I have my first virtual party on February 13th, and I have 9 people signed up and 3 are kids, usually 9+, but I have had younger. That is awesome, Gail. Congratulations. Okay, so I'm going to use a little bit of yellow. Let me find some yellow. I need to get some water. Jeez, my throat. Okay, so now I'm going to take some yellow and just do some little blobs. And we're just doing this for fun and contrast. Just adding it on here. And remember, if you're new to me and you want to be notified when I'm live, just go ahead and put I'd love the text number, and then we'll make sure. Oh, thank you, Liz. We'll make sure to give you the number that you can text me. Okay, that way you can get updates whenever I'm live. All right, so we have that. Now I want to add some of this turquoise back in. I'm just going to add it to the middle area, and I'm just putting it on really thick. And then I'm going to add some white highlights too. So just real thick. And then you can even take it and do little lines, just real abstract. Obviously, this isn't a realistic flower by any means. But we just want to make sure we have a good, pure amount of paint. So when we do this, it doesn't mix too much, okay? All right, so now we're going to take a little bit of that darker green. Let me see if I have a little bit of a darker. Oh, here we go. So I'm going to use a little bit of this darker green. And I'm going to use the bigger brush, just kind of mix it in. And this is a Hauser dark green. And I'm just going to start adding to it. So just like a little bit on the edges. Just so it has some little lines to it. Some more highlights. And then you can take the same big brush and just get a little bit of the different greens. And this is where you can add leaves pretty fast. So see how I did that? Just kind of grab it. And then if you want to add a little bit of a dark to it, you can do it on one side. Just however you want to add it. Just bring these out and just make it real funky and fun. And this 1-inch brush is really good for that. So you can add it, add some little lighter colors. I can even go even lighter. Just add some highlights in there. Okay. All right, so now I don't like just the one leaf, so I'm going to actually add a second leaf. It's a great thing about painting. If you're like, that composition is making it a little weird, just add you a second leaf real quick. Not a big deal. Yes. Oh my gosh. Elias says, find something you like, and that will be something to show you how to do. I picked some simple stuff. Very cool. I love how y'all talk to each other in the comments too. That makes me so happy. Okay, so now what I want to do is just take a little bit of that blue. Before I add my white highlights, I'm just going to mix some of these blues. And all I'm going to do is just kind of eyeball where this line should be. So I'm just making it kind of look like palette boards. And I'm doing this sideways. I advise you to kind of do it flat so you can see it a little better, but I want y'all to see how, even just doing it sideways, it does not have to be perfect. So we're just kind of following it. And then what I like to do is just take kind of the back of the brush and just do simple dots. And these are just to represent like it's been hammered in, like a palette would. And you can see here I did it in a little bit of a grayish color. So you can see it's a little bit of a grayish color, as well as here it is in a bluish color. Okay, so you can do either. And then the last step is I'm going to take some white paint with my liner brush. And then all I want to do is just start to kind of add in little highlights. And y'all, this part you could just play around with forever. So you could just play and play and play and just make it as fun as you want. So that's why I tell you, like when you're teaching the paint party in person, you want to kind of get those big brush strokes on first, because this part people can get real tied up about. Because remember, it's just the resemblance of flowers. It's not like this is a realistic version of a flower, people, okay? For those of y'all that are fine artists, I know it's not a realistic version. I know that it's not perfect, but the point of it is that you're having fun, you're creating, and you're making something that you thought you never might be able to make. So then you just add that there. And then I like to take that same 1-inch brush. Oh, thank you, Erin. And this is a 16 by 20, Mary. A 16 by 20. And I like to take some white paint. You don't have to have a paper plate for every color. Just mix them all together. It's fine. And then what I like to do is just take this and just sideways and just make some lines. So every time, pick up a little more paint. And then there you go. And then remember, all of y'all in Paint Party Headquarters, I'm going to give you images. So if you want to start trying to book a paint party with this, or you want to start trying to make money with this design, you can. And for those of y'all that are like, oh my gosh, I want to do this, but I want to sell it and make money with it, just let us know you want a free training or whatever, and we can kind of tell you a little bit more about Paint Party Headquarters. We open a couple times a year. So our next big opening will be May of 2021. So you can get on the wait list, and we have tons of free resources for you until you decide you want to be a part with us. So, okay, so and then last thing, if you just turn your brush over, you can add little dots here and there just to kind of make it more whimsical. All right, what do y'all think? That was the fast version of this. I hope you liked it. And of course, once it dries, I highly recommend adding glitter over the whole thing. And then for those of y'all that are just getting here, I just wanted to remind you 3 tips from bankruptcy to business owner. Number 1, it's okay to have another job while you are creating your business, your side hustle. Number 2, you've got to figure out what's driving you. And then number 3, it is okay to fail. It's actually a part of the formula of success. So if you are wondering, like, oh my gosh, I'm totally scared to fail, I'm totally scared to look like a crazy person, my first Facebook Lives, I literally looked like I was high. And so if you're terrified, don't worry. I was that way too. So amp your energy up and have some fun. I hope y'all enjoyed this. And again, all of y'all in Paint Party Headquarters, I'll post the pictures tomorrow so you can start using it right away. All right, y'all have a great night, and thanks for being here. Bye, Sarah. Bye, Debbie. Bye, Cindy. Bye, guys.